My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But when I reviewed The Phantom Menace, I talked about how people used to love the movie, then they hated it, and now they love it again. Revenge of the Sith, same thing. They loved it, they hated it, they loved it. But Attack of the Clones has kinda been loved it, hated it, still hate it. This movie hasn't been re-evaluated. People still don't really care for it, but I must admit, I like it. I think it's good. Now, it is definitely flawed, and the flaws in this movie are big. So I get it, but at the same time, there's still plenty to love here. So let's begin by talking about the cast. And Ewan McGregor is fantastic in this movie. He just has a unique screen presence, and I thought he carried this movie incredibly well. He can be funny, he's charming, but he can also be a badass, and I just thought he elevated this movie in every sense. Hayden Christensen can be a good actor. He was great in this movie called Shattered Glass. But here, I don't know if it's him or the direction, because I feel like he's doing what he's told to do. The issue is I don't like what he's told to do. He's far too whiny and over the top to the point where he isn't a complex character, he's just a whiny little bitch. But I do think he improves in the latter part of this movie. There's actually one scene where Padme falls off the ship and he wants to go back, and Obi-Wan is trying to tell him to separate objective and subjective, and I actually thought he played that scene very well. It's just the first half of this movie, he comes across like a giant creep. Natalie Portman, I thought, did a really good job here. She actually sells you on quite a bit, and she just feels fully committed to this performance, to this character, and I thought she was very likable throughout the movie. Christopher Lee does have gravitas to him. Like, he does bring screen presence to his character. I've just never liked Count Dooku. He never feels like he has any bit of depth, and he just feels like a forgettable character, unfortunately. Ian McDiarmid, once again, just has nothing to do. I really do wish the first two movies in this trilogy properly set up his character. Because, he's an interesting character, but you kind of forget he exists in these two movies. Samuel L. Jackson brings plenty of personality to Mace Windu, and I love how he gets to be a bit of a badass here. Frank Oz continues to do a good job as Yoda. Anthony Daniels as 3CPO is really good here. I love the section of this movie where he has the body of a battle droid. It's slapsticky as hell, but it is really funny. Temuera Morrison is good. I actually really like this guy as an actor, and I kind of wish he had more to do here. Daniel Logan as Boba Fett, he's fine, I guess. He just kind of feels like he's in this movie because of fan service. And Leanna Wasman plays Zamrazel, the bounty hunter at the beginning of the movie, and I think her performance is actually quite bad. I like the character design, I like how she's a shapeshifter, but her performance felt phony. So the cast is once again hit or miss, but Ewan McGregor really does stand out. And then we get to the water building, and it's just awesome. It really is. I love all the different locations on display. I love how we get to see more of Coruscant, including the club side of things, including the transportation side of things. I love how we see a more nature-filled side of Naboo. I love how we go back to Tatooine, but I love the addition of Kamino because it just looks so unique. A water-filled planet like this, and it has a very unique aesthetic as well, where everything is bright and white, and I thought it made for such a cool environment. And then we also get Geonosis, and I thought it stood out. I loved the gladiator-like arena, so the locations are really cool, and I love some of the creature designs here. I love how the Acklay has these giant, what do you even call them? Stabby things? I think the Nexu, despite being small, is still a real menacing beast. And the Weak kind of reminds me of a rhino, but it still feels unique to this universe. I also like how the Geonosians are kind of like these bug-like creatures. And I love the weapons they use where it's like this green blast. Just once again, this franchise was once filled with creativity and imagination. I also love how Jango Fett uses these seismic charges. I'll talk more about them when I talk about the sound of this movie, but so good. I love how he uses these tracking missiles. I love how he uses these toxic slugs to try to kill Padme. I like the addition of the super battle droids. I love the look of Count Dooku's ship and how it starts off really straight, but then it kind of inflates a bit. I think the Clone Army is a cool addition. So there is so much detail to this universe that just makes these movies feel alive. I also do think the action is quite good here. Like the Coruscant chase scene at the beginning of this movie is one of my favorite set pieces in this entire franchise. I also love the droid factory scene. That scene is just so unique and creative and tense and fun, and I love it. The Kamino fight is also really cool, and I like the asteroid belt fight scene as well. The arena scene is pretty cool because up until this point, we've heard about the Jedi, we know the Jedi, and we've seen some Jedi fight, but you've never seen this many Jedi fighting in one spot. So it kind of feels like a type of legend you would hear in this universe. And I do think it's entertaining. But the climax of this movie I actually find kind of underwhelming. Like Anakin gets knocked out like that. Obi-Wan gets taken out too easily. And then they never really fight together. And I get it. Anakin is just urgent to fight Dooku. He's impatient. I get it. I still would have liked to see it. And I think the scene where Anakin loses his hand is so anticlimactic. It just has no emotional weight to it. And the Yoda scene, it's fine, I guess. I just think at this point, the climax goes on a little long and it loses some energy. I do feel like this movie could have been 10 minutes title. But the direction by George Lucas is still fantastic. Like I said, this is a man with a vision, and he just brings it to life so perfectly. The sets in this movie look great. The costumes in this movie look great. The movie has fantastic cinematography, and it's very well edited. But then we get to the CGI. And I would say about 97% of this movie looks great. Even when it doesn't look realistic, it still looks interesting. But I do think this movie has a few more cracks than The Phantom Menace, and there are a few characters, there are a few moments that look weaker than I would have liked. But then now we gotta talk about the sound, because holy shit, this movie has some of the best sound design and mixing ever. Those seismic charges, the vroom, vroom, so good, so good. Just some of the greatest sound. And also like the Geonosis weapons, the vroom, vroom. It's so good. I actually don't think sound design and mixing gets enough credit in movies because all those sounds come from nothing. People have to make them. And it's really impressive work here. And then we get the music by John Williams, and it's beautiful. The Anakin and Padme love theme is so good, and it adds emotion when needed. It adds excitement when needed, and it just adds this feeling of being epic. And this movie is action-packed, it's romantic, and it's actually quite funny at times. So this movie does deliver on a lot of levels, but let's talk about the romance because that's the big issue with this movie. It doesn't work. It doesn't. Anakin is written in such a creepy fashion, and there's one scene early on where Padme's like, "Don't look at me like that," and then Anakin's like, it's weird. I just sensed no chemistry between these two, and Anakin talks about wanting a dictatorship, and people make fun of the "I hate sand" line, and I get it, it reminds him of his time as a slave, but it's still so poorly written in the moment, and I actually thought the dialogue and the exposition was so bad when it was focusing on these two characters. And it plays a big part in where the story goes. So that's the element of the movie that fell flat. Now, Natalie Portman is not the issue. She actually sells you kinda on it at times. Like that scene of them before they go to the arena is actually convincing. The final scene in the movie is actually nice, but I would give John Williams all the credit for that. So it's not like it's bad 100% of the time, but the romance is bad like 90% of the time. So the romance, there are some issues I have with this movie regarding some of the cast, some of the characters, some of the writing. Like, the story is good, but it definitely feels like a middle chapter. There's no real setup in this movie, and there's no real payoff. There's lots going on with the clones and Anakin, and I get it, it's a character-focused movie. I would have liked a little bit more, But all that said, I still really like this movie. I do. I just can't help it. I love it when a movie has a vision. I love it when a movie is filled with creativity and imagination. And I love it when a movie looks great, and that's the case with this movie. I watch it and I get entertainment, and it just feels so rich. It feels so interesting. And I miss it when Star Wars at its very worst was this good. Still flawed, like I said, but I still like this movie, so I'm giving Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones a 7 out of 10. Okay, Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. Have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin